Welcome to the Revu 2017 launch event. We are broadcasting live from Bluebeam's headquarters in Pasadena, California. I am your host, Sasha Reed, and I am joined by my two esteemed colleagues, Luke Prescott with our product management team and Matt Gotterer with our strategic development team. If you're not familiar with Bluebeam, if this is the first time you're seeing us, we are a technology company that creates innovative technology for the AEC professional. Our flagship product is Bluebeam Revu, which is used and trusted by over 1 million users worldwide, many of you joining in today. In this webcast, we're going to reveal to you new features in Revu 2017, and we're going to categorize them into 3 different areas: visual collaboration, enhancements with automation for productivity, and takeoff enhancements. So as you're watching this, if you're not viewing it full screen, you'll notice that there is a chat box for your questions in the corner. Be sure to send us your questions, because after we're done here looking at all the features, we're going to have a live Q&A bringing our CTO on stage to answer your questions. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. Before we jump into the product, we wanted to let you, our customers, know and understand just how much your feedback plays into the product that we create for you. So let's start off with a little look at the people behind Revu 2017.
There are a lot of industries that are fast-paced right now, but construction is one of the most. I love using Bluebeam because of the possibilities to do it better and faster. Bluebeam is interested in what we, as the construction users, want to see out of it. The beta program has been a great experience. My suggestions are actually being integrated. We've had 5 beta updates, I think, and each one is incorporating more and more of our suggestions.
As a product manager, one of the best parts about my job is being able to connect and talk directly to our customers. We understand that a lot of our customers really want to have this universal format where they can take the data that exists during takeoff, and you can have that for the lifetime of the project in PDF. There's an opportunity there for us to be that tool that delivers an end-to-end workflow in Revu 2017.
The best part of being an engineer is making something that you know is going to go out into the world and people are going to use it. An idea for a feature was pitched at me, which was come up with some easier way of defining a polygon from a floor plan than clicking all the vertices with snap to content on. So I started having this idea of having the bounds dynamically grow with your input. When I tried it, it worked, and I just liked the way it looked. There's one good solution, and the trick is to find it. And once you find it and you implement it, it's a thrill.
In quality assurance, our mandate is to be an advocate for the end user or the customer. And so whenever there is a decision being made about which bug to focus on first or prioritize, everything that we do is based on what their experience will be when they're using Revu. You go through so much when you're working on a new feature from beginning to end, but then when you see a customer using it for the first time and you get to see their reaction to it, kind of has a big payoff.
Where these features are coming from is from interaction with our customers. It makes you think of the whole problem in a different way, through somebody else's eyes.
We wouldn't be here without them trying to use Revu in ways in which we probably haven't even thought of, and then picking up the phone and being able to call us and being able to email us in the product management team, and then us kind of going and thinking about, well, how can we actually meet this need in the AEC industry?
The Revu beta program is one of the best ways to get more out of the program. We don't have the skills to make that software, but we can provide the input that they can make it a reality. I think that's what makes Bluebeam so great. It is evolving with the industry instead of trying to guess. It's fascinating to see what's possible.
So as you can see, truly it boils down to you providing feedback to us so that we can create technology to allow you to innovate. That's the cycle that exists here. So before we start into the features, I want to introduce the brave souls who have decided to sit on stage with me here for this live broadcast. Starting off, Luke, with you first. Tell us a little bit about your background and currently what you do at Bluebeam.
Sure. So I've been here at Bluebeam for 4 years. Before I was at Bluebeam, I used the tools professionally in the industry. So I come from the trades and am a customer. I think seeing how the industry has changed and Bluebeam's response with the technology over the better part of the last decade has been pretty amazing. Being on the product management team, I'm really excited for where we're going in the future. I think the future is bright, but certainly including what we're going to show out today.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing rehearsals and run-throughs quite a bit, and we don't stop geeking out each time you show these. So this is like an ultimate fanboy moment, full circle. Matt, let's move on to you. Tell us a little bit about what you used to do before your life at Bluebeam and what you do today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Bluebeam for 2 years now, coming from 10 years of construction management experience. Work with a fantastic team here in strategic development. We have two main missions. One is supporting clients with workflow optimization and standardization. The other is our Bluebeam developer network and integrations to really help with interoperability across platforms.
Yeah, super, super important, and that'll come into play a little bit later today. All right, so let's get started off. Let's not hold back anymore. Let's jump right into the product. I know that's what you guys are all waiting for. So Luke, why don't we start with you and talk about visual collaborations? What's new?
Right. So in Revu, we have a tool called Capture. And Capture allows the user to embed or essentially attach a photo directly to a markup. And this is great for tracking issues, progress photos, site conditions, things like that. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've seen a significant uptick in the use of 360-degree photos. And obviously, the technology was not generated or created exactly for construction, but it might as well have been. It's a really great technology that allows users to see an all-encompassing space within a location. So probably no surprise here, new in Revu 17 is the ability to embed a 360-degree image into Capture. So let's take a look. So in this case, I've got a pretty simple floor plan, but I've got a markup right in the middle, and I want to add a 360 image to that. So I right-click in Capture and select From File. I can then navigate to my 360 image, select Open, and when I click on the Capture lens, I have a viewing pane which allows me to pan and interact with that image as well as zoom into any details. Now this is really great for being able to see an all-encompassing view of a space. You know, imagine if I'm an estimator and I go out on a job walk and I've only got 2 hours to capture as much site information as possible. Being able to have a series of 360 images is going to give you just that much more information when, let's say a week later, you're trying to put a bid together back in the office and you're trying to sort through typical static 2D images, flat images. So we really think this is going to be a significant advantage for managing all those site conditions.
And actually, I was contacted maybe a week and a half or so ago by one of our customers who said they bought a bunch of these 360 cameras. So this is perfect. I think they knew this was coming down the pike, so this is exciting for them. A couple questions based on what we saw. What cameras are supported?
Great, good question. So we're supporting the Ricoh Theta S, the Samsung Gear 360, and a handful of other cameras. Full list is available on the website on the Revu 2017 release notes. And
I'm pretty sure this is probably what's on your mind as well. What about file size and bloating?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So 360 images typically are larger than a regular static 2D image, but imagine that you would potentially have to take 4 to 6 images of a regular 2D shot to capture what you potentially could get with a 360 image. So we imagine that the net increase would be less.
Yeah, and I think that's what everybody thought of when they saw it too, is that the idea of taking single photos will be gone, and now they're just going to use that 360 image. Very cool. So in this idea of visual collaboration, there's something else that's come with 3D PDFs?
Right, 3D PDFs, exactly. So managing and interacting with model data is really important. And it's obviously important for the design team, but ever more so, it's increasingly valuable for the construction team. And this includes prime contractors, subcontractors, owners, rep. And for years, we've provided support of 3D PDFs in Revu. And that includes the visualization and interaction with the model geometry. But new in Revu 2017, we have a series of tools that are allowing individuals to interact with the actual data itself in conjunction with the images. So let's take a look, and I'll walk you through all the details. So in this case, I've got a 3D PDF that was generated using the Bluebeam 3D PDF creation plugin out of Revit. And in Revu, in the bottom panel here, is what we call the markups list. And this is a great location that really lends itself to tracking all the markup data. Well, it's also a good location for managing any of the model data. So now we have a completely updated and re-envisioned 3D model tree that lets me scan through and select various model elements. When I select them, you'll notice that the model will automatically update, giving me a new pan and zoom, and making all those items transparent that might be blocking my view. Now I can click on any of these column headings, sort all of that data. I can also filter any of this data. In this case, I'm going to filter for all the windows. And when I click on the heading of windows, you'll see that they're all selected there on the drawing. So it's really easy to get to all those parts that you want to identify. Of course, along with filtering is the ability to sort and search. So when I search for doors, you'll see that it automatically will just bring up all of the doors, and then I can see those very easily on the drawing. Now, as the project progresses, it's possible that you might need to update and modify the metadata as per as-built information or updated manufacturer information. That can be done both individually and in batch. Just select out the range, head over to the properties panel on the right-hand side, find the phase created field, and I'll update the value to new construction, and that will then change for all those items. So all of those fields are modifiable now. In addition to being able to work with the data, being able to interact with the items and change their color is really important. So in this case, I'm going to change the color of all the doors to red. This is really useful for tracking all elements, possibly by phase, by scope, by installation. So you've got control over the visualization in addition to the data. So being able to interact both at the 3D level and the 2D level is important. So if I expand out the model tree, I'm going to head down to the roof system, and I'm going to copy it to my clipboard. Then, when I open the roof plan, I can paste the subset of those 3D elements directly into this 2D plan. This is really great for the construction team because now they can have actual interaction with the geometry, including the pared down data. Obviously, we don't need all of the data related to the entire model. So I have the pared down geometry that I can interact with right within the 2D plan, which is really useful in a sloped application where we have this sloped roof. To be able to see how the angles and geometries all work together is really useful. Now, if we only had a way to be able to perform a takeoff of a sloped roof, that would be pretty cool. Sorry, no spoilers here.
I think you just gave a spoiler. All right, one question I have as I was watching that. First of all, it's really exciting to be able to see all that 3D information, sort, filter, share it. But that's what I didn't hear. How do I share or export that information that's in the markup list?
Great. That's a great question. So we didn't show it in the demo there, but right in the bottom portion of the 3D model tree tab, there is an export summary option. And so all that data can be exported to a CSV file, and that is respective of the current search, sort, and filtering parameters.
Bingo. That's what we needed to hear. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So obviously access to information, 2D and 3D, is a challenge, but so is efficiency. So Matt, I think this brings you in now. Well, let's talk through some of those productivity enhancements.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk productivity. Like I've said in the past, productivity isn't always sexy, but it's got teeth. So want to talk about form creation. Back in Review 9, we introduced the ability to create forms. This is fine if you have one form, but if you have multiple forms over a course of a project, across a department, this can become labor intensive. So now in Review 2017, we're introducing automatic form creation. So let's take a look. We'll see in this RFI, if we go to Forms and then Auto Create, we can see that we've captured our form section tiers and turned them into form fields. This is great also if you have a scanned document. You'll be prompted to run OCR and it'll catch those form sections for you. It'll capture parentheses, turn them into checkboxes. And here, signature section, it's caught that and turned it into a digital signature form. This is great productivity boost. You can think about all the great workflows and use cases out in the field, from QA, QC inspection reports, pre-test planning checklists, even down to commissioning checklists. Big productivity boost. No one got in the business to create forms, so hopefully this unloads that administrative burden and allows people to get in and get the work done. We all know it's the information going into the forms that is the most kind of important thing, a part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think one of the things that's true is you don't always have the original content. So does this work as well with a scan?
It does.
A scan form?
OCR. Yeah, you can be prompted and it'll run OCR for you.
All right. Next, I believe you have something for us with some automation, some batch functionality.
Yes. So we're adding to our suite of batch functionality, batch sign and seal. Batch functionality is great because it allows you to perform a function on multiple documents all at once, a huge productivity boost. So let's jump in and take a look. So we'll go into File and then our batch features here. Down at the bottom, we have Sign and Seal. That'll launch a dialog box, and within this dialog box, we'll be able to select multiple documents that we need to sign and seal. In this case, we'll grab some drawings as well as some specs. We'll see we grab the specs here, and we're not going to stamp all those pages. We're going to really just want to stamp the cover sheet, so we'll toggle to the first page here, and then hit Next. This will launch our preview dialog box. We'll start off on the left here with our signature. Here we'll enter our password, and then we'll provide a reason why we're signing this document. In this case, we'll be approving the document, and then we'll get to bring in our actual signature here. So we'll bring in the signature, and we'll get a good preview of that. We can make any adjustments here if we'd like. If everything looks good, we can hit OK and move on. Next, we'll move to the date. Within the date, it defaults to today, but we have the ability to add a date field if needed. Next, we'll move on to our seal. Once you've imported your seals, they'll all be available here. So we'll grab our seal, and then we'll flatten that and uncheck Allow Markup Recovery to really burn in that seal to keep anything from being adjusted. We'll find the right location on the drawing where that will go, and then we'll grab our digital signature and find the right location there. We can kind of spend our time, make sure we have it all set up correctly before we move on. What's also nice here is we get a chance to preview this seal and signature across all the similar sized drawings, making sure it's just where we need it to be. Additionally, remember we added that spec section. So we'll toggle over to the 8.5 by 11 here, pull that up, and in here we'll grab our seal, find the right location on that spec cover sheet, and then grab our digital signature and find the right location there as well. And at this point, we're done. We'll process those. And then let's pull those up. Let's take a look at our handiwork here. We'll open all those documents here at once. And we'll see that we caught that digital signature field is now there. We can see that our sign and seal is there on our spec section. And then looking across our drawings here, both digital signature and sealed are there. So here we go. Dare I say, signed, sealed, and delivered? Thank you. Thank you. So in all seriousness, it really is a drop in the bucket of time savings here. You think about the use of this over the course of a year across an entire department. I often think about architects and engineers. They didn't work so hard to get the right to stamp a drawing just because they physically wanted to stamp the drawings. It was more to contribute to the built environment in a real way, to approve a drawing and a design that are going to be used by everybody. That's most important here. So hopefully this is taking off some of that administrative burden, and our creative professionals can be just that.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point, which is there was a McKinsey report which was launched not too long ago about construction and productivity, and they measured productivity in construction year over year for the last 20 years, and the growth was 1% compared to the world economic growth, which was 2.8%. So I think that these are these incremental ways that we're actually able to push the industry forward. A couple questions based on what I saw. First, I believe that currently when you do digital signatures, you need to save after each applied signature?
Not in this case, it's save in place.
Okay. And then thinking about starting with the end in mind, net deploy, is that possible as well?
Yes, it is. Think about standards. A little wink to standards there.
Good, okay. Following up on what you said. All right, Luke, I'm going to switch it back to you, and we're going to get to the piece de resistance, if you will, what I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, which are takeoff enhancements.
Yeah.
And some of these will be truly enhanced, and others of them will be complete teardowns. So we'll try to point that as we go along. But what do we have to reveal today?
So we've got a bunch of really great takeoff tools in Revu 2017. The first of which is the dynamic fill tool, which was the star of that little video. Huge shout out to Jim Foreman and the crew at Trueback. Thank you for letting us invade your offices for that day. Thank you. There are really two main challenges that we wanted to solve when developing and engineering these takeoff tools. And the first is that we know that you all, our users, come from a wide range of industries all across the globe, representing all different types of materials. And you demand a tool that is flexible but absolutely applicable. You have to understand and realize the efficiency as soon as you use it. And if you don't, then we have failed, right? So we have to make sure that the tool is applicable and flexible right off the bat. The second thing is we want to make sure that we're providing tools that allow you to transfer your data from the pre-con team along to the operations and engineering team. You know that your takeoff and estimate is already a sunk cost. You have to spend those dollars to get the job. But it's really a shame when your team on the other side of the job has to then redo a lot of that work once the job's awarded. So we're providing tools in Revu 2017 that help to take down the barrier between a pre-con team and a construction team to reuse that data downstream. So we'll highlight that as we go along. But on to dynamic fill, right? Okay, so here's the idea, right? So I need to be able to create some areas. I also want to create some perimeters as well because I want to measure all the wall board of some rooms. At the same time, I want to create some spaces. And spaces are a way of being able to define a region on the drawing and give that region a name, right? And so now any markups that fall within that space are going to then have that name. Well, those markups are all essentially the same size and shape. So dynamic fill allows us to automatically generate those markups at the same time while just defining the space once. Let's check it out. So here I've got 3 spaces in this floor plan, and I'm going to initiate the dynamic fill toolbar and pick the fill option, head over to the first space, and just start filling. It's just that easy. So I'll just pick up all 3 spaces here, and I know this looks like this might be going fast. I promise there's no movie magic here. This is real time. This is exactly how long it took to fill those areas. You'll see that when there's any overfill right here through these doors, which obviously there's no line work that's going to block that fill, I can come back in with the boundary tool and essentially retroactively apply a boundary. I can also apply a boundary to begin with and then fill up to that edge. So we'll just clean up these last 2 regions here. And so now with these regions defined, I can really begin using the power of the tool chest for creating markups that will use these regions to define their boundaries. So up at the top toolbar there, you'll see I've got a little white drop down next to each icon. So I can change the space name. In this case, we'll just put in baggage screening. And then when I select the drop down next to the area icon, you'll see that I've got all of the area measurements with my subject and label from my currently loaded profile in the tool chest. Same with the perimeter, right? So I'll pick out the perimeter I want. So I got my wall board, open up the markups list at the bottom, spaces panel on the left, and with one click, I'm going to get 3 spaces and 6 measurements all at once, defining those regions. So then I can update the space name per location. And because I use my tool chest, it's going to include custom subjects, label, layer, potentially custom column information that will allow me just to click on any of the column headings and sort that information out. So I've got quick breakouts if I want to see my totals by space, sort by space. I want to see all the total area, I can sort by subject.
Okay, so as I look at that, that looked like a really nice vector drawing. My one question
yes.
what about with a scan?
Yes, it works just as well with a scan drawing, call that a raster drawing. It's just amazing like that. It's really incredible. It was designed specifically for that in mind, knowing that a lot of you work on both scanned and what we call vector PDFs, which is the sharp lines there, but it is just as efficient both ways.
And just the visualization of it is pretty freaking cool. So I was curious, were there other names? Dynamic fill sounds very marketing approved. Were there any other, like Blob or?
Yeah. There were many names that shall not be repeated. But yes, okay. Dynamic fill is what won out.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have next for us?
Okay. So this is exciting, right? So we have received so much feedback, and this is really great. And this is a shameless plug to suggestions@bluebeam.com. Thank you for all of you that send in suggestions. It's so important to us. The ability to interact with the segment values of measurement tools is really important, and especially when it comes to pulling lengths. And if, let's say I'm an electrician, or I work in mechanical, or piping, or even trim work, I need to be able to measure in real time segment values based on typical manufactured lengths, right? So new in Revu 2017, we have a new takeoff measurement tool called PolyLength. Let's check it out. So in this case, I've got a simple piping run. I'll head up to measure and PolyLength, and I know that my material only comes in 20-foot lengths. So as I begin drawing this out, you'll notice that the tooltip is going to update with not only the current segment, but also the cumulative length as well. When I commit the markup, I'm going to have the segment values available to me between the respective control points. So if I add in a control point, I'm going to have then updated segments that are respective to those control points. Now, if you're going to create a length like this, there's a good chance you're probably going to need to split it. You can right-click any interior control point or segment and select split. This is going to break it out into 2 separate markups that I can then interact with uniquely. If you're going to split a markup, you're probably going to want to resume it. So you could right-click from either end control point, select resume, and carry on that takeoff. Now, that markup on the right, you'll notice that there is a 2-inch up annotation right there on the drawing itself. This is representing a riser. And we know that it's important to be able to add in additional value to account for rises and drops. So in the measurements tab on the right-hand side, if I head down to the rise drop panel, I can add in an additional length of 15 feet. And you'll notice that the length will update to accommodate for that rise drop, but all the segments will remain intact, and the length will update to include that.
Great. This is giving estimators a ton of control, especially with the idea of starting and stopping or creating that initial measurement, but then having to reformat it or change it. A lot of control here.
Yeah. But there's more.
Of course.
Okay. So, captions and slope. I alluded to this, right?
Yes, you did.
So,
spoiler.
Now in Revu 2017, there are ways of uniquely being able to interact with the captions on the drawing of takeoff markup. And this again sort of speaks to the flexibility of the tool. So depending on the industry or trade, you may need to show different values on your sheet set or on your bid that another trade might not need to show, but you're still using the same markup. So new in Revu 2017 is the ability to independently control caption values as well as add in a slope to an area. So let's check it out. So in this case, I've got 6 footing takeoffs that I've done, and they're showing me the label as well as the volume. If I select all those and open up the Properties tab on the right-hand side, I've got an Edit button next to Show Caption. This will allow me to independently control the label as well as all the respective measurement values related to that markup. In this case, I'll toggle on depth, and this is going to show me that I've got a variation in the depth breakout between the 6 footings. If I'm going to select out these 4 area, we also now include the ability to control the width and height. And this is now a scaled width and scaled height. So when I toggle those on and off, I can now see that visualized on the drawing, and that's also available to me in the markups list as a scaled value. So let's go back to that roof plan that we were looking at. If I know that I've got a section of this little roof panel here, it says it's at a slope of 3/12. If I measure the area of this rectangle, it says that I've got 334 square feet, but we actually know that that value is greater than that because of this piece of geometry being at a slope. So in the Measurements tab, I can change the slope from a pitch, degree, or grade. The grade is going to be measured in a percentage, and then just key in the represented slope value that's seen on the drawing, and you'll see that the total area updates to 344 square feet. The markup stays the same size, but we know that there's that extra 10 square feet that's been added in to accommodate for the slope of that roof panel.
And I know that to scale width and height is a big deal.
Yeah.
I know that's been asked for a long time. But slope, is this tracked in the markups list as well?
Right, yes, it is. So there are 4 new columns, built-in columns in the markups list in Revu 2017. Width and height, slope, and rise drop, at which you can just enter in the rise drop or slope values directly from the markups list or from the measurement panel on the right side.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You're on a roll. I'm not going to stop you.
Okay,
Keep
all
going.
right. So cutouts. Okay. So for those of you that have worked with cutouts, you know it's essentially a way of removing material from an area or volume measurement. Also might be referred to as a back out. But let's check out what we've got here for 2017. So I've got an elevation, stucco, about 1,400 square feet. In Revu, for years, we've provided the ability to create a polygon cutout. So if I just cut out this one window, I can cut that out, but I can now copy and paste that cutout by holding down the Control key, clicking and dragging, and then copy that shape to other repetitive forms on the drawing. We also now include the ability to cut out an ellipse. So this is great for caissons, pylons, support columns, things like that. Again, copy and paste. You can also cut out through the edge of the drawing. So begin the cutout in the middle of the area and then proceed to the outside, and that will then reform the overall shape. So if you're going to cut something out, you're probably going to want to fill it with something. So head over to the tool chest, select any area or volume markup that you've got, and when you hover over a cutout, you'll see that the cursor tooltip updates to a little measuring cup. Just click inside that cutout and the new shape will automatically be formed. A little tip here, if you hold down Shift, it's going to automatically select all those cutouts at once, and with one click, it will fill all the remaining unfilled cutouts with that selected markup.
Pretty exciting.
Yes.
I can almost hear the cheers. I can almost hear them. Okay, I think we've saved the best for last. And this next feature, I'm sure, is going to truly excite our users. And it has to do with a little known tool called Excel. I don't know if anyone's heard it. Oh, we have one more?
We got one more.
Chock full.
Sorry.
Continue.
Yes. Okay. So most of the stuff we've seen today, other than dynamic fill, has essentially been a derivative or an enhancement to an existing tool. We have, again, suggestions at, thank you. We have a great set of stories related to the improvement of counts. But we wanted to completely reimagine the entire count experience underneath the narrative that users who are performing all these counts in pre-con are probably going to want to use these as symbols later on down the line in construction. So just a red check mark or a red square really isn't sufficient enough. So we've developed a whole series of tools and completely rebuilt from the ground up, tore it down to the studs, the whole count functionality. So, well, let's just check it out. We'll get through the details here in a second.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So I've got some spaces, and these spaces have been created using dynamic fill. And what I want to do is I want to count out all of the doors in the space. And normally I would just use a highlight markup, but that's going to give me a line item in the markups list for every single door. So I'm going to right-click that highlight and select Create Count. This is now a custom count symbol just for that door. Now this allows me to then change the subject and the label, and it's ready to go. Now I have already run visual search, which is the ability to search a drawing for some symbol at multiple rotations. I've selected my results, and I want to apply that custom count markup to my results. So when I select this dropdown, you'll see I've got a real-time view, similar to the dynamic fill, of all of my counts in the tool chest. Now notice at the bottom, all of my counts are now broken out by space. So I've got a total of 22 doors, but all of my line items are now respective of my spaces. Let's take these doors in the office, 115, let's change those to a different symbol. In the properties panel, same type of drop down here. I can pick the doors for the glass light, and that will then update that symbol there in that, that space. So sort then by label, and I see a new breakout. Here I'm going to place another custom symbol of type B windows across these 5 windows. And this is going to give us one line item of 5 windows for type B. But let's say that those last 2 windows on the end, they've changed during the project. Maybe the scopes changed or the specs changed. I can now right-click a subset and select Split Counts. This is now going to break out those 2 counts from the 3 counts. I don't have to delete counts anymore and start counts again. I can break them out. I can now then change those 2 counts to a different symbol, so it's a little bit more respective of the update and scope. I also now have the ability to add a width, height, and depth to counts. So in this case, I know this is 2,000 millimeters by 2,400 millimeters across 2 windows. That's going to give me a total area of 9.6 square meters. So I now have that control with counts, and that will also allow me to turn on the area, width, and height in the caption control in the properties panel. Now, back to that little grouping of 3 on the left. We now include the ability to copy and paste counts. So I'll just right-click, copy, head over to the location in the drawing where I know I've got more type B windows, and paste. I can move that count grouping either as an entire group or move them individually. That's pretty key. And I can then begin to copy and paste these along the drawing in the respective locations. Now, as I do so, keep an eye on the markups list. You'll see that each of these new markups comes in as its own line item. So I'm going to end up with 4 line items of 3. So I have a total of 12. But let's say you want to bring those all together so they're one count. Select those all out, and either on the drawing or in the markups list, right-click, and select Merge Counts. This is going to bring them all back together as 12. But let's say the job's then been awarded and your construction team needs to put in custom label, installation date, custom statuses. At any point, you can right-click a set of markups and select Split All. And this will take all those markups and break them all out into individual markups, which then lets you control them individually for the purposes of installation. Again, so the ability to split out either into subsections or split all or bring them all back together is really sort of the new way of thinking about counts.
Okay, I'm glad you didn't let me rush past
Right,
this one,
right, yeah.
because I would use the hell out of that back when I was in the field. Question for you though,
Yes.
Can you use any markup as a count at this point?
Yes, yeah. So any markup can be created into a custom count. It could be a snapshot, an image, a grouped markup. Yep, no problem.
Okay, are we on to the one that I'm really excited about?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one is, I don't think it would shock anybody. There was a recent JB Knowledge Construction report which came out, and I was actually quite surprised to see how much Excel is used in the process of material takeoff and estimation, much to the chagrin of many of us. But you have something that may be a really good enhancement or complete brand new feature for
Sure.
our users in estimation.
Yeah. So Excel is important, and we've heard from you, and we know that Excel is absolutely critical to the bidding and estimation process. It's where you manage your breakouts, totals, material counts, costing, labor, all this. This is really where Excel is ideal for. And so we wanted to provide better ways of connecting your measurement totals from Revu into Excel. That way you can continue to leverage the existing tools that you have, but yet still find more advantage in using and performing the takeoff and review. So, new in Revu 2017 is the live linking of measurement totals from Revu into Excel with a tool we call Quantity Link. Let's check it out. So, spoiler alert, I have had all of those files that we've been demoing here linked into this bid template. So I've got my windows, the type B, the type C, remember the 9.6 square meters. That's all right there. I've got my doors, that plumbing is that poly length we did, as well as the dynamic fill slabs that we measured earlier. Just to show you, I'm gonna put Excel over on the left-hand side and I've got Revu on the right side. You'll see I've got my solid core doors at 15 and my glass light doors at 7. Those totals are also there in the markups list, also including the markup quantity, including the number of markups that comprise those totals. But let's create a new total. So if I head over to the concrete worksheet, I'm going to add in a total for the footings that I've got over here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to right-click in the footings cell, and you'll see that at the very top option, when Revu 2017 Extreme is installed, is Quantity Link. And then this little menu off to the side lets me create a new linked total. So in this case, I want to know the total of the volume. So these are all my measurement options I can pick from. So I'll select volume. And then this drop down here is giving me a real-time view of all of the data associated with the linked files. So again, I want the subject of the footings. So now I'm going to have the total volume of the subject footings. When I select OK, I'll have a value of 164 cubic yards across 6 markups there in Excel. But this is live, right? So as I carry on that takeoff, you'll see that as the values increase in the markups list on the right, they automatically are linked into Excel, and they're going to continue to update. So 233, 252, and then finally 271 across 11 markups, giving me that real-time view of that data. If I need an overall snapshot of all the links, I can right-click, select Quantity Link, and Manage. This gives me a good bird's eye view of all the links associated with these workbooks, with the entire workbook across the worksheets. I can click on any of those, get to exactly where those are located on the drawing, and see the selection criteria. Now what you don't see is you don't see the files, and this is by design. So the files are completely independent of the totals. So let's say we did another takeoff project, right? And it was a hospital project, and we used all the same tool sets, columns, profiles. This tool allows me to simply remove the linked files, and these are all the linked files that are associated with these totals. So I'll select all those out, and then just select Remove. And then I can navigate to my new takeoff. And so I have already performed the takeoff for this hospital project, again, using standardized tools. And then when I select OK, Quantity Link is going to go jump into those PDFs, look at all of that measurement data, and update it live. So here is my live update of totals based on that new set of files. And of course, that is across both worksheets, so I get that live feed of information.
All right, so glad we saved this one for last, because this is truly exciting. But what happens when I send that template to somebody else? If I email that template out, what's going to happen?
Right. So if you send that template out to somebody else and they don't have Revu 2017 Extreme installed, first of all, you can ask what their problem is. Anyway, help them get an upgrade, whatever. Once you work all those details out with them, if they were to open it up, they would see all the same cell formatting, formulas, totals. It's all there. It's just not a live update of values. If they did have Revu 2017 Extreme installed, they would be prompted to add in the files, and then they could carry on the takeoff, and those totals would update live.
It's massive.
Yeah.
You create it once and you're able to use it over and over again.
Sure.
Matt, I'm sure you're chomping at the bit to kind of
I
chime
never
in.
get tired of seeing this. I know we've gone through it a couple times, but it is awesome to see. And I love to see how it builds upon, each feature builds upon itself to a certain degree. And we can really start to open up the conversation around standards and what that means. And carrying information in pre-construction to operations, even to handover. This is really impactful. You can think about with one workflow, with dynamic fill, you're creating your spaces, you're starting your takeoff, you add in all these great other features with takeoff, and you're really creating a rich environment of data and information. Add in quantity to the link. On top of that, you have templated bid forms, templated takeoff sheets. That information is the ripe environment for the operation team to jump in right away and take advantage of that information. They can use that same information for productivity tracking. They can use it for processing changes. You started punch list in pre-construction, right? So you have your spaces set up to start walking through your punch list side. There's also this organic sense of transparency with an owner and stakeholders, right? You have the same data and information presented in pre-construction all the way through the project, all the way to closeout, right? With structured information, structured data, you're also setting a tremendous foundation for integrations and interoperability moving forward. It's so exciting to see. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think something that's I'm sure it's on everybody's mind here, is that idea of productivity and doing the work once and then leveraging it for as much of that workflow as possible. The World Economic Forum recently had a report where it was talking about the technologies that they feel are truly going to push construction forward. And integrated BIM was probably at the top of the list, but it was kind of disappointing to see that big data analytics, they predicted that it wouldn't move the needle at all. And I was actually on an email thread about a week or two ago with some groups of the Building Smart Alliance. They have a group called Thought Leadership, and they had brought this up, saying, if this is the case, if we truly feel that big data analytics is something that construction's never going to get its head wrapped around, we're looking at this all wrong. That's truly where we're going to see the needle moved. And these features just remind me of that very fact. I mean, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule, which is 20% of your time is spent doing the thing that you love doing, why you went to school, you love designing, you love building, and then that other 80% is really the administrative part that kind of supports a 20%. So if you're able to apply technology to start chipping away at as much of that 80% to give you that time back and be able to capture that information, that data, now we'd actually be able to measure ourselves, and we can't change what we don't measure. And so I think it's really, truly, truly exciting to see all of these features now kind of in context to start to allow you guys to do that, to start to allow you to create productivity. So that brings us to the end of the big reveal. At this point, we are going to move into our Q&A. Before we do that, I wanted to let you know that we have redone our entire website. And so if you go to bluebeam.com, check it out, see the new website. You can sign up for a webinar to learn about what you're seeing here, as well as download a trial of Revu 2017 and try it out for yourself. So at this point, I want to welcome to the stage Don Jacob, our CTO. Welcome, Don.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the power of TV, you've magically appeared here.
Technology for you.
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of leading in on what we were just discussing, this concept or this idea of data, productivity, the kind of the buzzwords that are everywhere in the industry today. As we see these features, how does Bluebeam view these feature sets kind of rolling into a larger objective? And I think Studio must play some role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Studio is really the driver for it. I mean, it's been the thing that's driven the collaboration for projects for many years now. It's really in many ways become the common data environment for projects, and document, drawing, data, comments, markups are the things that really drive projects getting done nowadays. And we recognize that with Studio, the engine really now powering that is drawings and markups, but really there's a lot more data, a lot more information out there, and so we're tuning that Studio engine to be able to provide access to more and more of that data. And really also Studio becoming that communication platform that no matter what device you're on, no matter where you are, being able to get access to that so you can get those designs done quickly, get the projects built quickly, and get decisions made so that the projects can be done on time.
Yeah, and I think we've really seen that here with the features, kind of access and productivity are truly kind of the themes. All right, that brings us to the point where we're going to answer your questions live. So they're going to be served up to me here, so let's see. Okay, Luke, I'm going to throw this one to you.
Okay.
Is there a way to pause or disconnect the live updating and quantity link?
Yeah, good question. So yes, there is. Within that little context menu, there's an option to suspend the links or connect the links. Just one click will either turn it off or on.
Very good, very good. Next is, Matt, I'm going to throw this one to you.
Okay.
It seems like there are many features that are in the extreme version only.
Yeah, so I think we were anticipating this one. I think there is a graphic that we have that hopefully can be presented, and people can see at home here. We can see that automatic form creation, batch sign and seal, and quantity link are our extreme features. Everything else that we showed today is on all three editions, so standard, CAD, and extreme, including dynamic fill.
Very good, very good. It was good to see the breakdown. I think we were supposed to talk about it during the features, but we totally missed that one, so I'm glad we had that question. Thank you. Do 360 photos work on Revu iPads or Revu Mac? Good question.
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as they work today, when you open a 360 image on Revu Mac or Revu iPad, it's going to open as a flat, static, almost like expanded image. That's still the case. It is something that we would like to support in the future, but for now, the ability to interact with, spin, pan the actual image is exclusive to Revu 2017, but all editions.
Okay, very good. Good to know. This next one, Dawn, I'm going to throw this one at you. Brace yourself. Why can't I get Bluebeam on my phone?
Yes. Stay tuned. We're hard at work on that. We, as we were talking about Studio and really kind of tuning it to, provide that exceptional capability, that's one of the things that we know will be key for driving that mobile experience. So we're hard at work on that, and we anticipate, that we want to make it right. It's got to work well. It's got to be quick, and we want that to be right for you. So we're hard at work on it. Stay tuned.
Very good. You've heard it. That was directly from the CTO. I think that solves it there. Next question is, can you share 3D PDFs? Can they open in Adobe? Good question. Luke, I'm going to toss this one to you.
Right, yeah. So 3D PDFs can be opened in Adobe. They can be shared. I think that was the question, right?
Yes.
Opened in Adobe. Yeah, so obviously you can share the 3D PDF with others on Revu. It can also be opened in Adobe. It is an open source file format, so it can just be viewed and interacted with. Can't make any guarantees as to the access to all the data, but we do have a free viewer view that does also have that updated model tree at the bottom in that lower panel there, and that's available too. So,
yeah, and
yes.
I think we get that question actually a lot when we're doing demos and speaking at conferences. There isn't a lot of knowledge around 3D PDFs yet, so that was a great question. Yep. This next one, Matt, I'm going to toss this one to you.
Okay.
When you talk about network deployment, what does that mean?
Yes, so network deployment. It allows you to deploy the software programmatically, as well as any kind of customized tools that you would have associated with that. Again, it's a great way of kind of breaking down the barrier of standards. So you think about with dynamic fill, you can programmatically push out the custom tools to a department, to a team, and they can start to leverage those and use those immediately without having to create their own and try to find where they may be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Makes sense. Start with the end in mind. Carry that standard.
Heard that before.
Good question. This is a good one. Luke, I'm going to toss this one to you.
Okay.
Are there any updates to Revu Mac?
Oh, great. Yeah, great question. So, yes. So in the coming weeks, we are planning a launch of Revu Mac to support and provide compatibility for a lot of the features we saw today. That release won't necessarily let you create the custom count symbols and polylength, for example, but if they were created on Revu Windows, then that would be accessible and available on Revu Mac. And we've also got plans to continue to add in more features throughout the year. I do have to say, huge shout out to all those Bluebeamers. There are many, many hardworking women and men that made Revu 2017 possible. Thank you. Thank you. You all know who you are.
Oh, they do. This next question, I'm going to rephrase it just slightly, Dawn. This one is definitely for you. It says, what's the next big thing on Bluebeam's radar? But essentially, what is Bluebeam doing next?
Okay, well, it's really humbling to see the adoption of Revu, and it's being used in ways that we've never expected. It's inspired us and excited us, and we've been so excited as we've been working on these features and to get them out to the world. It's really been exciting. So, there's always lots to do. We've really wanted to stay focused on the basics, and markup and collaborative markup as being really kind of the key driver for Bluebeam for many, many years now. And I think what we've shown today is really a great kind of testament to continuing to do that. Also making sure that we're aligning with their workflows. We're not just putting in a bunch of features and making sure just feature, but you're trying to use our software in the context of trying to get something done. So we're going to continue to work on the workflows and making sure that it's simple and easy to work the way that you would expect it to work. No matter where you are, whatever device you're on, we alluded to that. We know that that's a key driver, that people are on their phones or on their tablets or on everything else now, and so we're going to continue to put an emphasis on that. And then I think finally the integrations is really another great aspect of Bluebeam. I think we've seen some great integrations with Studio over the past year, and we're currently working on some great ones, and I think the future holds a really great part of that. It's going to be a great part of our future where it's not just us on an island, but we're working in an environment with a bunch of other systems, and being able to access and integrate with those systems is a key part of Bluebeam fitting into AEC.
Great, thank you, really appreciate that. And last question, final question, and I have a feeling marketing planted this one. When is it available? Well, the answer is it is available now. You can go to our website and you can download a 30-day trial of Revu and give it a try for yourself as well. Remember, we have webinars and other things where you can kind of dig into this. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the clock. They're going to cut me off shortly, so we are out of time. I apologize if we didn't get to your specific question. But first of all, thank you so much for you guys for coming on stage, doing a live broadcast with me. This was great. I know our users appreciate you being here and getting access to you. And finally, thank you so much to you, our customers. I hope that you really saw in this launch event that you are as much a fabric of our company as we are sitting here on this stage. So thank you for your feedback, and look forward to what we can do together in the future. Thank you for watching.